Good morning. Today is August 2nd, 2014, and this is a meeting really concerning the NPA survey, but of course there's a lot of things connected with that. We've kind of made a campaign this week related to our position with regard to Barry Springer and Jim Newbern and the current, I guess, so-called board. It is our position that the current board is not legitimate because it does not represent the will of the membership at large. We've taken surveys that I think have more than confirmed that view. And so what we want to do is kind of recap all the stuff that's happened this week. And we got some background noise here. Roger Boisson, is that you maybe? Again, just a reminder that if you are to mute yourself when you're not speaking, to keep your camera off when you're not when there's no reason for you to be seen. It saves on bandwidth, and it also is less distracting to just have people there that aren't participating. So when you're talking, please turn your self on and turn your video on if you have it. If you're not able to get in, and I've said this before, there's a phone number you can call. Everybody can call the phone number. It's 201-479-4595. That's always the number every week. But this week's meeting number is 2543-0427. So please call that number. All right. Again, what we want to do is just recap some of the issues. I'm going to read the letter I wrote, talk about it a little bit, talk about the comments we received back. And, Nate and Varghese, sorry about that. Again, we get some distracting noise, and I'm trying to keep that to a minimum as much as possible. Okay, and then open it up for questions and comments, and then talk about the survey. There's some really good things that we can learn from that as well, and get everybody's opinions and so on. And then, of course, David's going to have a chance to talk, and those who've been active with this whole process, which include, and the people that deserve a lot of thanks would be Lou LaFollette, Nick Percival, and Judge Duncan Shaw. We're all here today as well, and we're looking forward to hearing something from them also. Okay, so let me just begin by saying that this is not a personal issue. This is not like we're out to get Barry Springer or we're out to get Jim Newbern. That's not the case. You know, there's been a number of things that happened. I think I explained pretty well what happened in the January letter, which I'm not going to go over a lot of that detail, but hopefully if you have questions about it, I'm certainly willing to answer that. But this is not about that. This is about, you know, through a series of freak coincidences and just weird stuff that happened. Essentially, we lost control of the organization, and as it is formally recognized, which is the NPA. And Barry Springer and Jim Newbern are representatives of that new direction, if you will. It partly came about because I resigned out of protest, out of the way David was being treated. It was essentially the board was reduced to the three of us, and I was a 1 vote against 2. And it was looking like back in December that David was going to be sued for not complying with their idea of how things ought to go. That was ridiculous in my mind, and worthy of just calling it out. And so we had, as you recall, we had I've got to find where that noise is coming from. We had the petition, which in my mind was, I thought that would end it. I really did. I was shocked that it didn't. Thank you, whoever was bringing that noise in, for turning off. And so then we just had to continue. I know, what do we do now? our thought back in January was, well, we'll just form a new organization and bring that new organization forward, and let them do what they want with the NPA, because we thought, and I think it's still true, that we had the goodwill of the members, which includes of you, and that we could just continue doing what we had always done under a new name, and that they would just fizzle away and do whatever they did. But after some discussion with people who are supporters, it just turned out that was, they wanted to have the NPA as we understood it back, and the actual organizational structure and the whole everything. And there's also the issues related to the website. There's some control issues that David does not have control over the new website, and that's something that we would need in order to be able to not waste a lot of time reinventing the wheel. So that's another issue. So, then we're thinking, all right, we really do want to have the original organization back. And why shouldn't we? I mean, this is not their organization. So that's where it's gone. We've gone back and forth a few times. We were actually pretty hopeful in March and April. We endorsed some candidates at this particular meeting, this very meeting, for the board, because the board was saying that they were going to announce people to fill up the board. Basically, there were only 3 people on the board: Jim and Barry and Cynthia Whitney, who wasn't active, and so and Dave Harrison, who had just been elected the day I resigned. So there you go. That was it. We needed to fill out the board. We were recommending that they fill out the board with people who represent the members' best interests, which would have been a way out. I mean, it would have been a way for this whole thing to get resolved. Barry and Jim chose, that's all I can say, they chose to ignore that mandate, if you will, from the people. And so, in my opinion, that just exasperated things and escalated the issue further. And so that brings us to where we are today. So again, from my vantage point, there are 3 points at which Barry and Jim crossed the line. The first was when they said, we're going to bring a lawsuit against David. That was in December. My response was the petition. The second was, got some background here again. When, that was you, Francis, just so you know. The second was when they had the opportunity to bring members who represent the will of the people, if you will, the will of the members, they rejected that too, and brought in people who support their view on this whole website thing. And third, they announced a conference, which in my opinion, if this conference in November happens, then that legitimizes them. That makes them the NPA, and that can't happen because I don't believe they are legitimate. So that's why the actions this week have taken place, and why we felt that we had to be as strong as possible, because we need to make it loud and clear that they are not the NPA. They are not a legitimate body of the NPA. So that's where this is all happening. That's how it looks to me. Now, I'm willing to, listen to your opinions on this. This is not, I'm not trying to be dictatorial about it or anything like that. But it seems to me those are the 3 events that are most significant in the history of what has happened. And so that puts us at a point right now. It's still possible. I mean, if we could get, a majority of people who are supportive of our position onto the board, that we could even, have a conference this fall. I'm not saying that's out of the question, but it is out of the question if, as the board as it currently exists. Okay, so with all that background, one more thing I want to say. I said this is not a personal issue, and I want to just say at the outset, there's a couple of, I've probably received maybe 30 or 40 emails, maybe more. I don't have count, and I apologize if I haven't answered them all. But all of them have been supportive, and I really appreciate that, and David does too, all of us do. I know Duncan Shaw has been answering some of those, and so thank you for that. We're getting some background noise here from somebody. Let me see if I can find where that is. Miguel, looks like it's you. Okay, there we go. I keep losing my train here. Okay, what I want to say about Barry is that he has done some excellent work with the NPA. He wrote some very excellent papers in the proceedings that were published last year. He made a presentation to this group. I'm not doubting any of that, and I don't know what his intentions are. I can't judge his intentions, or I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say I think he was doing what he thought was best for the organization. I really think it's very misguided, and I know probably David even disagrees with that much, but I'm not trying to say that. I think that the visions are just so different, and his priorities are so anti just disrespectful to what has been done before him, that it's not acceptable. And so it's not a personal issue, but it is an issue of what are we going to do, with an organization that's not listening to its members. Okay, so that's the issue. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to reread the letter. I'm hoping that most of you read it, but I'll reread it, and then after I've done that, maybe we can open it up for some comments. I'm going to make a couple of comments about what I wrote along the way in answer to some of the things that Barry said. Okay, I'll just say right offhand, a lot of, I think that's Paul Schroeder. We're hearing the breathing. Just so you know, Paul, that was you. Boy, people are still coming in. Okay, there were a few things that I wrote in my initial letter that were based on what I'd seen on the website, what I'd heard from other people, and what I'd heard from other people about how the money was being spent on the board. So it was unconfirmed facts, and I acknowledge that. But on the other hand, they're minor points. I mean, they're not the major issue. So I'm going to address those as we go through. And let's see, I can make this a little bigger. Let's see. Hopefully everybody can see that. All right. No, I can't see the top of it. Let's see, where's that hand grabber? Okay, here we go. Everybody can see that all right? All right, I'll read it. Dear NPA members, though some notices have gone out with my name attached, I haven't expressed my take on the NPA situation publicly since the petition many of you signed in January, which I assume you read. My apologies for the long delay. It's partly exasperation on my part, and partly because I simply haven't known what to say amidst all this craziness. Though typical for me, this message is somewhat lengthy. I sincerely hope you'll read to the end to learn the current state of the NPA, or at least my perception of it. It contains both sadness and hope for the future. There's a time to mourn, but also a time to rejoice. I hope it's coming. Right now, I ask you to mourn with me over the current mess the NPA has become. Later, I will ask you to join me in celebrating the bright future, a brighter future for all of us. Mourn with me first over the many great scientists we've lost recently in the past year, especially. Most of you received word a week ago, it's now been a couple weeks ago, about the passing of Neil Munch, who kept the fire of the NPA alive for several years following the death of our founder, John Chappell, in 2002. David DeHilster and I worked closely with him for years as the baton was passed from Neil and Domina Spencer and of course Cynthia Whitney, always with an attitude of great respect for what had gone before. Neil was continually delighted with the efforts David and I put into the NPA, and I frankly feel a responsibility to him and other NPA founders to see that their hopes for its future live on. You may not know that we also lost Senyak recipient and former NPA treasurer, Professor Mahmoud Melahi, in May. His valuable work connecting thermodynamics with electrodynamics. And one of our first Senyak recipients in the very first year, 2009, Peter Greneau, Dr. Peter Greneau, with a series of groundbreaking experiments on railguns and electricity and water, left us in February. And last December, we lost what I consider the Galileo of our age, Dr. Halton Arp, who revolutionized astronomy with his voluminous evidence of intrinsic redshift. So, and by the way, all of the recipients of 2011 have passed on. Dr. Harold Aspen died about 3 years ago, so I'm just glad that we were able to award them when we did. But sad to say, we've also lost several to whom we had planned to award the Sagnac. Professor Franco Saleri, who is a dear friend. He's a relativity theorist and editor of numerous independent conference proceedings. We lost him in November. Professor John Bachris, he's an authority in electrochemistry who provided experimental and theoretical support for cold fusion last July. And it's ironic because that July we had actually talked about awarding him the Sagnac Award that year. That's happened so many times that I can't even tell you. It's just tragic. But anyway, Ken Shoulders, discoverer of the stable rings of charge that he called exotic vacuum objects the previous June, and I had actually tried numerous times to contact him for bringing him to Albuquerque to award him the Sagnac Award. We just couldn't make it happen. Anyway, and also sad, right after that meeting, Dr. Martin Fleischmann, 2 years ago, co-discoverer of cold fusion, we had hoped to bring him in and award him that as well. Anyway, all of these and more deserve the best that the NPA can offer, the Sagnac Award, but the opportunity has now passed. And by the way, I don't know, I'm thinking about having a posthumous award because we can't keep up. It's just, that's the fact. You know, there's so many really good people worthy of this award and we're losing them faster than we can get the awards out. And that just breaks my heart. Anyway, though I retain hope for the future, at times we seem to lose great scientists at a faster rate than we gain them. However, their loss puts the NPA perspective into perspective, a fiasco into perspective. In the end, what matters will be our contributions to science and not who wins a power struggle over a tiny organization called the NPA. And I don't mean that in a way to degrade the NPA, but we are small. We're a family. Anyway, I'm glad that we took the initiative to preserve their work in the World Science Database so that future scholars can read about and extend their work. But for now, please just mourn their loss with me. Mourn with me over the ongoing power struggle of Barry Springer and Jim Newbern versus David and me. Barry said that this is not a power struggle. I guess I think it is. You know, who has control of the NPA? I don't know how else to describe that. But whatever. Back in January, we expected them to back down after the overwhelming member support for the petition. I've just said that. It may well be the greatest level of agreement the NPA has enjoyed over any issue since its inception. maybe this recent petition or motion for their stepping down may be the second most unanimous or close to unanimous NPA idea. Anyway, we thought that realizing just how unpopular their actions were, they would either resign as volunteers in an organization that doesn't need or want their help, or make every attempt to reconcile with us so as to move the NPA forward. And specifically, that reconciliation would have included bringing in Nick Percival and Lou LaFollette, which they didn't do. Unfortunately, neither happened, and they have simply acted as if there had been no petition. Apparently, they either don't believe that members care or they don't care what members believe. I'm not bitter toward them, but I am very sad, and let me move that down, that their peculiar sense of right is more important than the people they stomp on to accomplish their goals. And I know that seems like strong language, but I believe that's a pretty good characterization of what they did to David. Thankfully, David and I have been blessed with support from many of you, and even more so since this letter was written. Thank you. People who have been particularly gracious by sharing their time and talents include Nick Percival, Lou LaFollette, and Judge Duncan Shaw. That's kind of our new core team, if you will. You may recall on the April online meeting where we informally but publicly endorsed the first two for positions on the NPA board, along with Dr. Bill Lucas. These endorsements were ignored since the board chose others over Nick and Lou. Though to its credit, it did elect Bill Lucas. And Bill Lucas is here this morning, and I have to say, you know, we greatly appreciate him. So it's, you know, it's not as though everybody on the board is a bad guy necessarily. I just want to be clear. Bill Lucas is just totally 100% good guy. We love him and support him and appreciate his support. But isn't it ironic that other than Bill Lucas, none of the current board attends the Saturday online meetings? I don't think anybody of the other 6 are here. I don't believe so.
Jim Newbern is here.
Oh, Jim Newbern is here. Okay, Jim, welcome. And many have attended only 1 or 2 live conferences. Many have never contributed anything to its proceedings. Yet Nick and Lou have been faithful participants week after week. What else can I suggest but to grieve over such a ridiculous situation? Over the past couple months, Judge Duncan Shaw has entered the ring with Barry Springer over an issue of member-based elections. Now, always cautious yet thorough, Judge Shaw contends that Maryland law guarantees an inalienable right to members in a nonprofit organization to elect its officers. This right supersedes any provision in the bylaws. Springer disagrees, contending that the board should perpetuate itself and vigorously fighting against the members' right to vote with volumes of defense. The red, by the way, are some of Nick Percival's edits, which I didn't change the color. This has been an issue now. What gets me is I don't know the law, and I don't know who's right, to be honest, as far as what the law says. But that ought to be minor. It seems to me we've reached a point where the only way out is a member's vote, and that's what I am advocating for. You know, whatever the law has to say, but that's my position anyway. Barry does remember the overwhelming vote by the NPA membership requesting his resignation. But even ignoring Maryland law, member-based election seems to me the best way out of the current mess. Shouldn't the members decide? I guess that's what I just said. If Springer and Newbern are indeed doing what is in the members' best interest, they should be able to raise support and get elected. Why are they so reluctant? How do we bring about a member election without engaging in a costly and wasteful legal battle? Again, I'm left to mourn and pray for a way out of the morass. Mourn with me that the NPA will not hold a conference in 2014. Now, that's been challenged since I wrote this letter because of the announcement. And who knows? Again, if we can reach some kind of a settlement, then maybe we will have a conference this November. I don't know. But anyway, as things stand, I don't believe that there will be, and that we would have one in 2015. But if we don't, it'd be the first year since its genesis in 1994. And of course, the power struggle, which very challenges, is the primary reason. But the story is rather complicated, and I'm not even getting into all the details in this letter, of course. In January, David and I planned to announce a July conference in Albuquerque alongside Tesla Tech. That decision was made a long time ago. Regardless of how Springer and Newbern responded, if they chose stubbornly to hold on to the corporate structure of the NPA, we would simply form a new organization. But our supporters felt that we should not just walk away from the formal organization of the NPA and should fight to regain what we had lost, which is what we've done. This cast a cloud of uncertainty over exactly how, when, and under what name we should announce our intended conference. Ultimately, per the recommendation of Judge Shaw, we decided to announce the conference would be an NPA conference. at which we would hold, that is an NPA conference as opposed to some other name. That's what I meant. At which we would hold official member election. But alas, the announcement was made far too late, and only a handful of people actually registered. I think maybe many of you didn't even get the word. I don't know. We didn't do a lot of publicity on it. It was late. We didn't get papers. We didn't get enough. It just wasn't enough to make it worth happen. But about that time, we decided to cancel. David and I received letters from Jim Newburn's attorney threatening us with legal action should we carry on the conference. I have that letter, which I'll share with you later. Imagine that. Well, at least this gives an idea of how NPA funds, that is member dues, are now being spent. Moreover, since I began to help edit the proceedings of the NPA, several alternatives for publication have arisen. And if an author can publish his work in many ways, why should he choose the NPA? I mean, it's not free. Why would you do it? Naturally, he'll choose the venue that maximizes his exposure. What can we as the NPA do to enlarge the audience for our authors? By the way, we did try to get our proceedings published with Elsevier publication, and we made some pretty good progress in that direction prior to the conference in Maryland, the 2013, and then it fell through once they found out that somebody believed that we were not scientifically credible, and so they withdrew that opportunity from us, and that's a shame. But anyway, just letting you know, that wasn't one attempt. So the other attempt is to just, again, use the internet, use all the resources that we have, and we had been planning to do that, and this whole fiasco came about, and all those plans came to a halt. But anyway, let me get back to the letter here. So what can we do? Should we, as Springer proposes, raise our standards? That is, exclude some authors so that other authors can be promoted. Now, Barry is challenging that and saying that his idea of raising standards does not mean excluding. And again, I can't judge his intention. So if that's what he's suggesting, then that's fine. But on the other hand, I guess what I'm wondering is, what were our standards low before? I don't know. I mean, I personally, I guess I take a little offense at that, because I think I did my very best to make the standards as high as they could. One of the things we want to promote is we are our own peers, so we want to encourage peer review, not in the sense of somebody rejecting a paper because somebody else said it was no good, but more in the sense of we should be reading each other's papers and commenting on each other's papers and helping each other write better papers. We want to do that, and that's nothing new. So if that's what part of raising standards means, we've been doing that, and we've been trying to do that. It's not a new thing. So again, I don't know exactly what he means by that, but there are some things that have been said at some of the meetings in the past regarding content that have led me to believe that Barry Springer is kind of interested in some sorts of censorship. And I'll just say this, that he did tell me, a couple of you who were at this meeting probably shouldn't be speaking because your content's not that good. So it kind of sounds like censorship to me. But I don't want to go down that road any further, just to simply say, I don't know what his intentions are, and we're already doing what we could to raise standards, and I'm certainly not opposed to that. Anyway, is this what founder John Chappell fought so vehemently against? I know John Chappell was the voice of the dissident, and boy, he was a dissident's dissident. He fought against everybody, but the famous quote by Voltaire, I don't believe in what you say, but I'll fight to the death your right to say it. I think that was John Chappell's attitude, and that is our attitude as well. So we want to preserve that. Um, and that may mean that we will never have the level of agreement that some other organizations might have. And that's just, that's not necessarily a negative, that can be a strength. Okay, will the NPA cease to be the place where scientists can freely exchange ideas? Where will the dissidence to Springer's standard go? I shudder to think of it. I don't know. Again, I've discussed that issue enough, so let's move on. Please mourn with me over the wasteful expenses of the Springer board. Of course, I only have secondhand knowledge of what's going on, and I want to emphasize that. I don't know these. I don't know. Many of the things that follow are not facts that I know. They're only things that I can infer from what I've heard from other people, from what I've heard from Barry Springer's mouth, and from what I've seen on the websites. That's about all I can say. So if the facts are wrong, I apologize. I don't, that wasn't my intention. And again, I don't think that they have anything much to do with the central issues. Anyway, I have only second knowledge, but as far as I know, this was true in December. Jim Newbern, Treasurer Jim Newbern, has never prepared a financial statement. I never saw it, let alone published anything. I know that he was entrusted with over $15,000 accumulated from previous conferences and from income generated from David's website. I know that over half the money, again, I should probably tone that down. I've been told that over half the money has been spent on on either legal fees and a new website. And let me tone that down a little bit and say, I know that over half the money's gone. And I infer that that money was spent on the website and on legal fees because I don't know what else it would be spent on. So that is probably more accurate. And if I say anything that was inaccurate there, then I apologize. But I have been told that half the money is gone, and there you go. All right, anyway, the new site, which admittedly looks nice, is nothing more than a new face for the old website. The capabilities and the data result from years of hard work by David and me. As of today, it lacks many of the features of David's original site. And without David's input, frankly, we've got this thing where it's not going to get done the way it should be done. Now, it's possible we could use the new face. I don't know. I haven't talked to David much about that. That we could find a way to do that. That's not really a big deal, but we got to get this whole website thing resolved. Anyway, one of the two websites will be thrown in the garbage. Again, the functionality that will not have to be thrown away. Nothing's really of value will have to be thrown away, so that's good. But what I hate to see is I hate to see double, waste. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but without a clear agreement on where we should move forward by the members, I don't think any money should be spent on a website. That's my opinion. So which will it be? I know that the $3,000 David requested at the NPA, which is the catalyst for the whole debacle, was never paid him. Now, since then, Barry is claiming that there's $2,000 set aside for David. The original claim was actually $4,000. David, somehow it got knocked down to $3,000. I don't remember when that happened or how. And now they're claiming that half the money was spent for the website and half the money is earmarked for David. I don't know when that was voted in. It was after I left. And then they're saying all David has to do is claim it. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. I'm curious to know what sort of red tape that might involve. I don't know. But that was all new to me. I hadn't heard that before. Anyway, yet the board wants to raise dues to fund their schemes. Now they're denying that as well. I received this information from the websites which talked about increased dues. So again, I don't know, it may not be something they've talked about in the recent past, that's true, but there was definitely discussion of that type going on. Dues were raised about a year ago. I was the only one that was opposed to it, but that's me. Anyway, and there was definitely the intention of raising them higher. But anyway, I'm torn. Should I ask you to stop paying dues so that the funds dry up and the madness ends? Or should I encourage you to demand your money back unless certain conditions are met? I don't know. But I do know I'd hate to see them just continue to get more funds to spend on things that we don't approve of. Then the problem is you won't be members, and so you can't vote. But oh, I guess when this is me whining, I guess, a little bit. Who do people email when they're having trouble paying? I've received in the past several months several emails from people saying they can't pay their dues. Can I help them? And it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to help you pay dues so that they have more money to write me nasty letters from attorneys. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I haven't answered those kind of emails. I just don't know what to say. It's really just another matter for grief. That's a tough one for me. Anyway, finally, mourn with me over the effect this fiasco has had on my friend David DeHilster personally. He'll share with you some of that. Some of you heard the story at a recent Saturday meeting, but for those of you who didn't, this ordeal created a domino effect that definitely confirmed the law of increasing entropy. Long story short, David got stiffed for $3,000 for the work he performed preparing for NPA 20. But far more devastating was the shocking lack of respect and appreciation that he received from Jim Newbern and Barry Springer for their tremendous volunteer effort that he has given. And by the way, Barry challenged the word volunteer. I want to make it clear that what David and I did for the World Sites database and building up that database and getting all that information, that was 100% volunteer work. We were paid to help administer and put on the conferences, and not all of them. I mean, the early ones we did for nothing, but starting in I believe 2011 was the first one where we received something. So to say that what we did was not volunteer is crazy. It was. I mean, we did it because we love doing this. This is what we want. And then there was some money, and we thought, well, you know, we ought to be entitled to that now that it's come in. But that was after the fact. So it's also true that we thought after we had built what we had built with the World Science Database and so on, that we would have we could use this for other groups, not just the NPA. And so we thought that'd be really cool, and that we could actually make some money with that. And so we were going to call it Group 'em, and we made no secret of it. You know, and I don't think anybody that was in the NPA was like, oh, well, you're using us to promote your business. That's not true at all. We did what we did because we loved doing it, and we kind of looked at it one day and said, hey, we could do more with this and actually maybe even make some money. That's the truth. And if anybody thinks that's a bad thing, wow, you know, that's all I can say. But the rest of the story is that because of all this mess, we haven't talked about Group 'em for probably 2 years. It's a dead issue. I don't know if it'll ever become a live one again or not, but we never made a nickel off of it. It's just a dream that didn't happen. So anyway, where was I? Okay, I think I finished that paragraph, or didn't I? Anyway, far more devastating was the shocking respect. For further details on what happened, please see the letter accompanying the January petition. Okay. The stress that David experienced as this debacle developed caused him to lose his job, which caused him to lose his house. Let's see, is that, I got some background typing here. Don't know who that is. Trying to find that. Antonio, maybe it's you.
I think it's Bent.
Bent, oh, okay. Pardon me for a minute while here's Kurt is also not muted. That's not it. Bent is muted. Okay, we're not hearing it anymore. So, okay, the stress caused him to lose his job, which caused him to lose his house, which caused him to move from California to Florida, which is where he is now for a lower cost of living. At the time of the letter, he is in Florida, but not yet settled in his rented townhome, and David will tell us there it is. Understandably, his wife Doris and I did get David's permission to mention her name. Does not want David to invest more volunteer time into the NPA. So can you blame her? So the truth is, it's unlikely that David will ever be able to devote himself to the NPA as he has in the past. That doesn't mean he's going to go away. It just means the level of involvement is not going to be what it was. One of my goals is to formally and officially offer David an apology for the undeserved and disrespectful manner in which he was treated by the Springer board, and to restore goodwill between David and the NPA. That's right at the top of my list. So I hope you join me in this resolve. I didn't have to do what I did, but I did what I did. It's not because I'm power hungry. If I were power hungry, I would have just joined Jim and Barry. It's not because I'm trying to make a lot of money, because there's not any money in this, just in case anybody thought there was. It's because what happened was wrong, and I believe that justice was not done, and that matters to me a lot. That's why I did it. So I don't know why that's so hard for the current board to understand, but that's it. It's just, I guess they don't see justice the same way I do, but that's what moved me. Anyway, as I said at the onset of this letter, this is a time to mourn. It's okay to feel sad about it. I certainly do. What else can one feel? Maybe this could have been avoided. Maybe Jim Newbern, I know you're here. Maybe we could still be friends. I don't hate you. I don't like what happened, but I don't know what else we could have done. I don't hate Barry. I don't feel that way at all. I wish this could have been avoided. Maybe I could have invited Nick and Lou onto the board, and then we wouldn't have had this disproportionate vote back in December. Or maybe I could have demanded that David got paid. Maybe I should have been more vocal about that. I did insist on it, but I didn't, maybe not strongly enough. I don't know. I apologize to anyone whom I might have unintentionally hurt through an unanswered email. I know there's a lot of emails I haven't answered, and I'm sorry for that. I really am. I can't keep up. But I don't apologize for taking David's part. If I had to do it over, I would do exactly the same. And I'm not bitter against Barry Springer and Jim Newbern. I'd like them to step down, but I acknowledge that they have acted according to their perception of what's best for the NPA. David doesn't agree with that, but I think that they did. And I would welcome them to future NPA events with open arms, and I welcome Jim here today. I don't have hatred. I just want this to end. Okay. Well, didn't I promise some good news after all the gloom and doom? The good news is that we can do more than just mourn. We can act. So Lou LaFollette prepared a survey. Now, of course, by this time, all of you, I hope, have taken that. And we hope all NPA members will take 3 to 5 minutes to complete. I think that's accurate. Didn't take that long to do. Less time it took to read the letter. It will help us know what you expect from the NPA and what direction it should take. I believe it will provide a clear message to the Springer board. They ignore this message at their own peril for what is the NPA beside its members. Second, I will host an online meeting, and again, you know that because you're here, to call for the resignations of Barry Springer and Jim Newbern from the NPA board. Please make every effort to attend. I understand that many of you believe yourselves technically unable to join an online meeting. And I noticed that there's quite a few people here today who have not come in the past. So I'm glad that you overcame that I can't get into the meeting, idea, and are actually here. And that really, I'm glad that I know that there's a few that fit into that category. Anyway, I understand that many of you believe yourself technically unable. Call the number. That's the same number every week, 479-4595. And by the way, if there's a few of you that still haven't been able to figure out how to get this to work, call that number. And then this week's meeting number is right there, 2543-0427. Please take the time to join us, even if you've never attended before. We need you there. All right, and there's more good news. I think public interest in alternatives to conventional science is growing. I really do. Independent polls reveal that over a third of the American public reject the Big Bang Theory. That was the most encouraging thing I've seen in a long time. And I can get you, maybe I can upload that for today. There's many that have serious doubts about the Higgs boson, the standard model. So why? Whoops, I'm getting some background feedback from somebody. So why should all these people, where should all these people turn for answers, or at least independent discussion? Well, we're it, folks, the NPA. The age of computers makes this possible. We have plans to make it happen. That's what we want to do. I think that's more important than whether we publish our proceedings in Elsevier or someplace where it's going to get buried, and I don't know. That's my opinion anyway. So that's what the NPA is supposed to do for you, and that's what I want to do, and we can start doing. Anyway, thanks for taking time to read this long epistle of mine and for your continued support. We'll get past this mess, and I believe the NPA will become stronger than ever. So let's do it together. All right. At this point, David, do you want to have some words now, or should we open up for discussion? What do you want to do?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, let's just take a few minutes to open things up for questions or comments about what I've talked about so far. And Harry's got a flag, just so for those of you that are new, and I know there's quite a few. Harry, you can unmute yourself. What we want you to do is raise a flag, and then I'll call on you to raise a flag. It's on the left-hand side. There's a little red flag. Hopefully you can see that. You just click on that, and that tells me that you want to have a chance to talk. You could just unmute yourself and start talking, but then we get chaos. So let's try to do it that way, and then I'll just call on you. So Harry, you're first. And if when you're talking, if you have video, if you can turn that on, that's great. If you don't, it's not the end of the world.
All right. I'm just going to say I'm looking for a plan of action. What's the plan of action? I hear a lot of talk. The more I read, the more I hear, the more confused I am. I think you're bogged down in details. What is the plan of action? What's the main goal? What is the main concept of what you want to achieve with the NPA? What's the main objective? Where do you plan on going? At the present time, I can't see that either side has a plan of action, and I can't really support either side.
Okay. My answer to that is simple. We want one of two things. Either we gain control of the NPA board, and when I say control, I mean at least 4 of the 7 members of the board are representing the will of the majority, which supports Dave DeHilster in this whole thing. So that would mean bringing on Nick Percival, Lou LaFollette, myself, or someone. Right now we have the support of Cynthia Whitney and Dr. Bill Lucas on the board. So we have 2 out of 7. The other 5 members of the current board are, I guess I'd say, anti-David. So that would mean 2 of those members will have to step down, or we'll have to hold an election or something so that we can have that. Now, if the current board is willing to do that, I'm willing to give up an awful lot. I'm willing to say, all right, we'll concede this, we'll concede that, we'll concede whatever. That's my view, because that's valuable. In fact, I'm willing to even look at interims and say, all right, if we'll have an election in January, and after January, we agree that there's going to be a member vote, at which time I don't think Barry Springer will be reelected. Then, maybe we could say, all right, we'll support the conference. I don't know. I mean, there's any number of things that could happen. If we reach an impasse and they said, no, we're just going to go on doing things as we have, and we're not going to make a deal, then we form a new organization. That's, you know, we just start over and say we're not the NPA, we're the natural philosophy fellas. I don't know, whatever whatever we want to call it. That's which was what we were actually thinking about doing back in January, what we held back. We didn't do it. So that's my position. My game plan is we either get back control of the board, or we form a new organization. That's the plan. So I'm open to thoughts on that.
Why don't we hear from Jim Newburn?
Sure, I'm okay with Jim getting up and speaking. Jim? You can unmute yourself if you would like. You don't have to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you want to, you're free to talk.
He's unmuted. I don't know if you can hear him.
Yeah, I don't hear him. I was some kind of crazy sounds. Jim, you're okay. Jim says he's going to call in. Great. This is the NPA, so people have the right to say their say, including Jim and Barry. And Sam Falaki is also here. And Sam, if you want to say something, you're welcome. It's okay. What we don't want is people coming in and under some pseudonym and not telling us who they are. That we don't want. But if you come in under your own name, you're always welcome. That's my opinion. Okay. No other flags that I can see. Do we want to wait and hear what Jim has to say, or David, do you want to go ahead and say something now, or would you like me? Go ahead.
No, just go ahead.
Okay, Joe Bova has a flag up. Joe, I can unmute you. Or...
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
All right. So I've been following this and sort of keeping my mouth shut because sometimes that's the best thing to do.
Sometimes it is.
Yes, it is. But, you know, I just made two notes, one from the chat and one in general control. And that is, you know, the membership here is really voluntary. Yeah, sure, some of us pay money, but we know that there's expenses involved.
Sure.
It's not like joining the, you know, the science group.
Right.
So they need to have control. I'm just going to say it. If they need to have control, they should be able to vote. If that hadn't been done,
the members need to have control.
The members.
Yeah, I agree. Good.
If that hasn't happened in the past formally, it's because everything was very much ad hoc. There was no need.
That's right.
As you grow, you have to have structure. So yeah, structure is important, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But the membership is nothing, and it's not a privately held company, so the board can't elect themselves if they're not a privately held company. I don't know what the law says, don't really care, but that's nonsensical.
Yeah.
So enough of that.
Okay.
And then there was something in the meeting chat about people not citing other people's work, and that's scientific integrity. I don't know if there's anybody has paid much attention to that, but I would agree that that's something where peer review is important. And when I say peer review, I don't mean you can't publish your stuff if I don't agree with you, but it's the opportunity that we have, for example, on these Saturday morning conferences, to question and sometimes grill people's ideas.
Absolutely.
And anybody that prints anything, that should be part of the standards, is to make darn sure that if you are referencing someone else's work, that it's done.
Yep. And we've, it's not as though that's news. We've been doing our best to impose those standards. Again, I don't disagree with you.
So yeah, and that's, so just again to sum it up, if the members can't vote in a situation where the actions of the board are perceived to be hostile, and I'll use that word openly, then you don't have a functional organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and regarding, the getting people to peer review other people's papers, we are our own peers. So if people don't volunteer to read other people's papers and comment on other people's papers, it breaks down. And that's our number one problem. How do we get people to do that? How do we get people, David has, worked to try to get it so that people can do that. And you've been able to do that for a couple of years, but we're not doing it enough, where the papers are there and then nobody reads it or nobody comments on it at least. So that's where it breaks down. It sounds great, but if nobody does it, what good is it? All right, Jim, are you available? You're free to talk if you have.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Regarding meetings, I sent an email to you prior to the conference in College Park, which was held July 9th to 13th. And the first day, Wednesday, was open to everyone. And I scheduled Jerry Pollock for 90 minutes, and 30 minutes for members meeting, and 30 minutes to clear the hall.
Right.
And you put someone else 2 talks in and totally ignored my request for a members meeting.
Okay.
Despite my objection. And I had no way around to adjust it.
All right.
Also, in the many years,
I don't remember that, but I'm sure you're right.
I'll resend you the email. I'll clip it out and resend it.
I'm sure you're right. I don't deny it.
And in the many years leading up to this point, when you and David pretty much had control, I'm not aware of any meetings of members or votes.
You're right. There weren't any.
Now all of a sudden it's important.
You're right.
Well, that's been addressed, Jim, because it was like the guy who just talked. It was chaos, and we wanted that. That's why we wanted the organization. So we can't do that. We can't apply the rules that are today, which are in a real organized. That's why we wanted to do it, because we weren't doing those things. And
right.
and the gentleman before.
Well,
read the letter. Put the letter online.
Okay. Here it is.
To read.
It's right here. It's from. This is your attorney.
Right.
Okay.
Jack on.
It's dated. It's dated July 3rd, 2014. It was addressed to the hotel, as you said.
Right. Right.
And it is called a notice of denial of liability.
Right.
So here it says the firm represents the Natural Philosophy Alliance of Maryland Incorporated, nonprofit corporation specializing in investigation and publication of works related to natural science matters. It's come to our attention that 2 former directors of the NPA, that would be David and myself, have organized a conference slated to be at your hotel on or about July 31st to August 2nd, which is right now. The Tesla Tech conference is going on right now. These former directors may be planning to appropriate the NPA name for this unauthorized event. It's true. You should know that this planned conference has not been sanctioned by the board, that is your board of the directors of the NPA, which has sole authority to issue such authorization. That's what we disagree with. And that the legal proceedings may be initiated against the organizers of this conference if they have been found to have misappropriated the name, resources, and reputation of the NPA. So that sounds like there could be some lawsuits if we have this conference. That's how I interpret that. You are further advised that the NPA and its board of directors will in any event not be liable for any costs, injuries, or damages, direct or consequential, that may occur as a result of this unsanctioned conference. Fair enough. It has come to our attention that 2014 Extraordinary Technology Conference sponsored by Tesla Tech will be held coincident with the planned unauthorized NPA conference. You should know that the NPA has no, get that if you want to see it.
Greg, there's been a couple of things in the chat which I think are relevant.
Okay.
Fontaine, Pauline, I agree. There was an email sent out that there was a professional level, something like $100 that was sent out. Also, again, I'm only reading from the chat. Someone said that Bill Lucas said there was discussion about raising dues. So we have a little conflict here on what people are saying.
Okay. Again, my information was secondhand. It was based on what I saw on the website and discussions I had with Dr. Lucas, who told me that. So I don't know firsthand. I only know secondhand.
I apologize if I ignored something that Lucas had mentioned.
Okay. Put it into the letter. It's not that important. Anyway. Is there anything more you want to say, Jim?
No, at this point, I can communicate by email.
Okay, fair enough.
Or actually, the board is not answering your emails. We're putting information on the website so we don't get people bogged down with a bunch of emails.
Fair enough. Okay.
Thank you.
We have a couple of flags up, and I haven't been reading the chat. So, Dave, do you want to summarize what's been said?
Well, I think I did. I already did. So
okay.
I think we should go. I think we should
go
to
the
the
surveys. We've got a couple more flags now. Should we do the flags?
I want you to go to the surveys, and we should get to the flags just to make sure we cover those. Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. I think everybody has seen the surveys. And David, maybe you should find the relevant pages. This is the report, and do we want to focus on all the questions, or do we want to just find?
No, I don't think so.
This 70-page report includes everyone's written answers. It doesn't say who wrote them, though, does it? So this is. So we have the question, we have the answers to the questions, and then we have the. Okay, this is one we want to focus on. Then we have, if there are comments, then we have the comments following, but they're not, it doesn't tell us who made the comments. But I think we want to look at question number 13. One of the accusations that is made by the current board regarding, getting some feedback. Glenn, I muted you. I'm trying to. Yeah, it was Glenn, it was you. Okay, question 13 reads, if you have never attended or rarely attended an NPA conference, would you share with us the reason or reasons why? And there's a lot of you that haven't. Mark all that apply, with 1 being the most important reason, 7 being the least important reason. So there could be, again, a lot of you that voted. All right, but anyway, you can see for the vast majority of people, the number 1 reason is it's too far to travel. And I think too far to travel and too expensive are probably just two different coins, two different sides of the same coin. And third is other, so who knows? Maybe you don't agree with somebody's science. I don't know. Then another is my work schedule will not permit me to attend. So these are all reasons. There's nothing we can do anything about those reasons. Number 5 here is I'm too old and travel is difficult. And we acknowledge that our membership is such that that's just the case. So those are really by far the majority of the reasons why people don't come if they don't come. We understand that. A small group of people said that they were uninterested in the proceedings, which is fine. I mean, you don't have to be. And then there are two people who said it's too hard to register for the conference out of a total of 200. So I guess I would consider that statistically insignificant, although sure, yes, I totally agree. We need to make the website more user friendly. We all understand that, and we want to, but that is not a reason why people aren't coming. And I've said this before. I'm going to just quickly say it right now. One of the things the current board is accusing us of is that having a decline in conference attendance since 2011. We had a steady growth in the years 2008, 9, and 10, and 11. That was our peak, where we had we had almost 200 people. And I just like to point out that of those 200 people that were at the 2011 conference, more than 100 of them were Electric Universe people. And they were our guests, and we're happy to have. I know some of you here today are EU people, and that's great. You're welcome. This is a place where anybody can come and discuss their ideas and share them. And I personally, as you know, I subscribe to the EU paradigm. That's me personally. But as I said before, I will fight to the death for someone's right to disagree with it if they do. And that's what the NPA is all about. So I also acknowledge that there are a number of people in the NPA who do not accept the EU paradigm. And so we need to make it okay for people to agree or disagree. And anyway, but so the actual NPA members attendance of 2011 was actually slightly under 100. And then in 2012, we had just about 100 people there, and I would say maybe 20 of them or so were probably EU people. So really maybe 80, maybe a little bit of a drop from 2011 from just NPA people. And then in 2013, we had maybe 80 people total, 15 or so of which maybe 10 to 15 that were EU people. Something like that. So we're maybe down to 60 or 70 people who were NPA people. So yeah, it did drop. It dropped from maybe 100 to 80 to maybe 70. Something. I'm just pulling numbers here, rough numbers. And I can account for those numbers in the following way: that first of all, there was kind of a generation of, we were going out and trying to get people to come, and then once we'd done that, there was a finite number of people we could come to get. Once they'd come, there wasn't other people for us to go after. I mean, there's only so many people, going after all the people who'd been at NPA conferences before, or who were signed up or associated with the NPA in the past, getting them all excited about coming again, and then trying to get them to come again is hard. People can't come every year. We understand that. And there's a lot of people in this meeting who maybe came to 2010 and haven't come back since, or came to 2011 and haven't come back since. We got a lot of people like that. Well, who are we going to get to replace them? Not everybody comes back every year. So it's hard to the only way to really get that, even just to maintain a level of attendance, is to get new people. And who are we going to get them from? Our people have always been presenters. the people that are coming to present their ideas. We've never had a lot of people that just come to watch. Now the EU has a lot of that, and the Tesla Tech has a lot of that, but the NPA still to this day doesn't have a lot of that. Most of the people that come to these Saturday morning conferences are presenters. They're people that are presented and then they're coming back to listen to other people present. That's who we are. And so also another reason why I think attendance has dropped is a lot of people come to this Saturday morning and they think, well, if I'm coming to this, I don't need to come to, to a live conference. I'm getting what I want from this. And I'm not arguing with them. Maybe that's all you need. I think there is something valuable in actually physically getting face to face with people and sitting down and having coffee and talking it out. But I understand that, and I understand that is also maybe a reason why some people just say, I can't come every year, and so they say I can't afford it. But anyway, the central point is there are lots of reasons why attendance has been what it is. The other reason is I'm just admitting this, and I've admitted it before. The 2013 conference, I personally did not invest the level of time and effort into it that I did in the previous years. Had I done that, I think the attendance probably could have been 20 or 30 higher. I don't know. I believe it could have been because I think it does matter, and I should have done it, and I didn't do it. So that's why I'm advocating for 2015 conference. I think part of the reason why we didn't have a lot of, even though it was too late and all that, we didn't have a lot of people wanting to come to 2014 is it gets to be the same old thing, same old. We need to have a fresh start where we have plenty of time and we can kind of get the excitement and enthusiasm, something new that happens, so we can say, hey, this year it's going to be different. It's going to have this, and then people say, yeah, I do want to come to that. And so that was my thought for having the 2015 conference. I think it's getting late in the game for us to be able to do that successfully, even for a November conference. Although, yeah, it's possible we could still pull something off. I just don't think it's going to work. I think we need that time, and maybe taking a year off is actually a good thing. Maybe it's.
Greg, could we let some other people talk?
Sure, absolutely. All right.
See, Nick got a flag up.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Why don't you let Nick say something, because we had a couple.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take things over like this. Okay.
That's okay.
Nick, you go ahead, and then I think Paulina was next after that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Yes, Jim had talked, but it seemed to me that the issues that he brought up were relevant to the key issue. Some.
Nick, your volume is kind of low. Is there any chance you can turn it up or get closer to the mic?
Okay. Is this a little bit better?
A little bit.
Okay, I thought Jim Newburn's comments were really totally irrelevant to the key issues. And one of those key issues, that is in January, we had 150 plus members of the NPA. Looking over the list, it was virtually every active member of the NPA was calling for the resignation of Barry and Jim. It's now August. We have 7 full months have gone by. We have now had another call for resignation, where it was, if anything, a more striking call for resignation. So I don't see how anyone can say that they have the best interest of the NPA at heart if they continue in office and leave the choice of the NPA shriveling to a handful of people. I don't know what the strategy is, and is that skeleton crew then going to be merged with the electric universe? I'd like to understand Jim's reaction and plan regarding the call from the overwhelming call for his and Barry's resignations. And he said they've had over 7 months to come back and explain. So don't say that now you're going to come up with some new explanation. I'm asking Jim for his response.
Okay. Jim, are you there? I'm not sure if he's still on. I know he called in by phone. Not sure what his number is. Well, I don't know if he's even hearing, but okay.
And I would also comment that the 2 times he questioned things that you had talked about, we came back with very explicit facts that his saying that you were wrong were incorrect, and documented that his claim that you were incorrect was in fact incorrect. One, that all they did was to write a letter to the hotel saying that you were not representative of the NPA, when in fact in the body of that there's a threat to...
That's how I read it. Yeah, that's kind of surprised me that he said that.
Yeah, and the second one, the claim that there had been no talk about raising the dues. Well, it was A, it was on their website, B, it was in their emails, and 3, they brought it up at the board of directors. You know, I don't know. And that clearly shows that they were talking about it. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were expecting to publicize that later.
I don't know.
I don't think that was a very candid claim on their part. Okay.
Well, the claim, Nick, is that they're making another level. That's what they're saying. So, and if you look at what they sent, when I read the letter, it was pretty clear to me that this is a nonprofit type of letter to limit the liability, and they're going to say a lot of stuff in there. So, that's what it was about, and also to emotionally put some type of pressure on us not to do it. But in general, it goes with corporate law, where you just say these people don't have the board's blessing, so therefore anything that happens, if someone went there and did something and killed somebody, then they wouldn't be sued and lose the money that we built, we gave it to them to use. So, that's what I see that letter as. I mean,
that would have been perfectly appropriate for Jim to say.
Right, and well, I think it comes down to, Nick, because people are chatting in the window about all kinds of things, but it comes down to the NPA is a membership organization, period. It's the idea that Greg and I wanted to bring these people on, like Barry and Jim, was to form a formal organization that would, take us to the next level. It wasn't to just, there's a couple of things. Number one, I'm part of a company myself right now, trying to make my living. And one of the things you do when you come into an organization, one of the first things you do is you look at a couple of things. You look at the assets, you look at the people who are involved, and you look at what their mission statement is. Now, if I were coming into the NPA, or if I would have a really good person who knows nonprofits, I'm really high level beyond what we, Barry or James are, and again, that's no offense, but what they would come in, they would say, okay, who are the people, what are the assets? Okay, $15,000, $16,000. Who are the people that are making this organization run? Because if you have those people, you want to keep them and do it. Also, do we have any debts that were from the other organization? And the person would say, yes, David D. Hilster had a promise of this much money to do work. It was promised to him. Even if it's a handshake, it was a promise. And if I were coming into an organization that says, okay, let's pay off those debts, even if we want to change the website, even if we want to change everything else, those things should be taken care of. But instead, what you see is you come in and there's all of a sudden mistrust and treatment of a person and persons that were the principal people. And if a person came into our situation now, what they would do is they would say, okay, what happened? And they're going to say, well, what happened? The board came in and got rid of most two influential people who had the hearts of the people, who worked harder than anybody in the last few years, and they're off the board. They drummed them off. And to say that they didn't is, of course, if you get the observation, if you were to have a person like on The Prophet, which was one of my guys I watch on TV, he would come in and say, no, what you did, you drove them off the board, you took away your good people, and it just doesn't make sense. And they would come in and say, okay, get these people back, who kicked them off, get those people out of the board. That's what the NPA membership is saying. What is incredible to me as a person is how I could sit with myself on a directorate, see the entire membership. I was a president of a group for 20 years. I just gave it and handed it over to another person. 20 years. In 20 years, if there was a group, if all my members got together and said, we don't want you in there, you think I would just go on and say, forget you? I mean, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. Even forget about everything else. As a person, one-to-one, if we all voted and said we hated Greg and didn't want him around, Greg isn't going to sit there.
I'd leave.
I'd leave too. It'd be like, what is going on? That's a level to which I think what Nick is asking. He's in. I am in the same agreement. Why, when you have a petition, and not only that, it's not done behind the back, it's not done by the board, it's not done anonymously. Why? Why is that? What drives a human being to just stay in a place when he's not wanted by other people? That I don't understand.
Okay.
Addressed it all by Jim.
Yeah. I want to give Jim and Sam, who's also here, every opportunity to have their say. I don't want. Again, there were people at meetings like this before who came in pretending to be someone and not saying who they were. Those people are not welcome. But anybody who comes here under their own name is welcome, and it has full can have their say. Okay, so I want to be clear about that. All right, Paulina, I think you were next, and then Anton, and then Harry. I don't know, your flag is up from before, or we'll have you go a second time after that. Oh, Paulina says that her stuff is in the chat. Okay, then Anton, I believe you're next, and then Sam just put a flag up. So we'll go with Anton first. Okay, so Paulina, can I take your flag down?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Greg, actually, it's more of a question to the webmaster, which I presume is David.
Well, the webmaster now is Sam Falaki.
No, I'm talking about the webmaster of WorldSci, not
okay.
NPA.org.
That would be David.
Okay. I don't quite know how to say this. No, I don't really, but an answer. I was browsing this morning the website slash NPA net, and I come across pay your membership fees, and we have the 3 donate buttons there, or the 3 subscribe buttons and the donate buttons. Now, the subscribe buttons, which are to ordinary members, student members, and senior members, they are all go to payfornowworldnpa.org, and the donation goes to contact at bootstrapproductions.biz. I just hope this is a huge mistake on this site that gets updated very quickly.
First of all, there's no members of the World Science Database.
If you go to World Sci,
The world site, no, I can answer the question. It's pretty simple.
World Sci
Yeah.
slash NPA,
Yes,
you log in,
yes,
and then you get members,
yes.
or pay membership fee. You get 4 PayPal buttons. The first 3 have on. Then when I look at the source of that thing, the first 3 go to Pay for Now World NPA, and the donations go to contact at Bootstrap Productions. David.
Yeah, I can explain what happened there. What happened was they were the original NPA, a couple of things. Number one, the one on the very front page of the World Sci is in fact a donation to World Sci. The ones that you have were pointing to a website that is no longer in existence. And yes, that should be taken down, but it's not. It doesn't go to anything. There's no money received on our end. What it was is those buttons were changed to go to the website that the current board was under.
Well, that's
and what happened?
2010.
Well, no, but what I'm saying, Greg, is what happened is that they moved and they started building a website under worldnpa.net.
Right.
And when they did that, they disconnected that, and of course I wasn't aware of any of that. So it was originally pointing, and those links would point to the worldnpa.org website, which is no longer in existence. So what that is and what that is now, if it's different, then that absolutely needs to be taken off. So that was a change that I didn't have any awareness of, but those buttons were going to the current directorate's website to pay, and I do know that some of those have worked, and all those that were paid were going to the World NPA itself. So, but yes, I appreciate you pointing that out, because in truth, right now, that is no longer working, because once they had switched that website without notice, and that was no longer working, then that has to be changed. So I will change that. It's a good point.
Yeah, okay. Just to get it straight, this is basically worldsci.org/NPA/pay your members, where this is on. So this is something that has come alive in the recent months or so. And but anyway, it does leave a sour taste. Everyone looks at it and discovers that,
Okay.
Absolutely. And I hope you understand the explanation. That's why I was not aware that they had brought down that other site, and and was bringing up another. So yes, that will be absolutely taken off. I can do that right now. In fact, I didn't know.
All right.
Fact, I didn't
know anything about that.
People, well, the truth is that our website continued, even our membership website, which was parallel, continued to contribute to the current directorate.
Yeah, that's where all the money's going.
Anyway, keep up the good work, Greg. Let's see what comes out of this. I'm sure,
Yeah,
at the moment,
I hope we can figure something out.
And I'm sure there needs to be compromise on both sides. So
Sure. I've said before, I'm more than willing, to if we can figure out a way to get out of this, I'd be willing. So anyway, both Jim and Sam have flags up, so we're going to give them a chance. I think Sam was first, although Jim has been asked to respond from earlier. But let's let Sam go, if that's all right. His flag was up first, and then Jim, and then Harry. I think you've had your flag up from before, but let's let them go first. Paulina asked, was I reimbursed? I was paid. I was paid $2,000 plus my expenses for last year's conference. So the answer is yes. Okay. Sam, do you want to have your say? You need to unmute yourself. And if you have a video, that'd be good so we can see you. And by the way, Bent, if you can turn your video off, that would be good. But if not, it's not the end of the world. Okay. Sam, go ahead. We're not hearing you. So maybe you need to turn your mic on or something. Okay. Well, we're not getting Sam. You can always type something in.
Can you hear me?
I don't know who that was, but whoever said, "Can you hear me?" Yes.
This is Harvey Fiala. I just joined.
Oh, hi, Harvey.
And
are you at Tesla Tech right now?
No, I'm at home.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Who is speaking?
This is Greg.
Greg, okay.
And I mean, you've gone every year that I've known you, so are you not going for physical reasons?
I can't walk hardly, and so that's
sorry.
the main reason that I'm not going. But I just wanted. I'm sorry that I'm late to the meeting,
okay.
and I'm only on the phone, not on my computer.
That's okay. And we can hear you fine.
Okay. How long might this meeting last?
Well, we're going to try to wrap it up in 2 hours, unless there's some reason that we have to go over. We're pretty loose.
Okay,
but we're a half an hour to go still.
Thank you for updating me on it. I'll be here for the next half hour, and I support your position 100%.
Thank you.
Okay, you go ahead now.
All right, Sam, were you able to get your sound to work? We weren't able to hear you.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, thanks for having me.
Sam, before you start, let me just say, Sam Falaki has been working on the website, okay? And it's really, I don't blame Sam for what has happened. Now, I know there's some tension between Sam and Dave, but Sam is a programmer. He's the one that's been developing the new website. David doesn't agree with me. All right, I understand.
Well, he's not a programmer. He's not a programmer.
All right, he's not a programmer. Okay. Anyway, he's the one who had a lot to do with bringing in the new website, and Sam and I have had some discussions. They've been actually quite cordial, and I just wanted to let everybody know that. So, and Sam is currently on the board. So, just wanted to give you that background so people know who you are. Okay, Sam, go ahead.
Hi, everyone, and Greg, thank you for allowing me to speak in your Saturday morning. I just want to give my perspective, because it's quite different than what is being portrayed here. And my perspective is I came in I went to the Maryland conference last year, and I was required to register before going to the conference, and the registration wasn't working. And I've been working with computers for over 15 years. I still work as a consultant, analyst. I do all kinds of different things with systems integrations and what have you. But anyways, to make a long story short, I went to the NPA. The registration didn't work. After David's screening of his film, there was this session where people were encouraged to give feedback about the movie with the members, and people stood up and complained about the website and the registration, and I was a bit offended by the way that Dave was answering back to the people, especially some people, elderly people, and talking down to them, telling them that they don't know how to use the internet. And I stood up and I said, no, the website doesn't work. You need to fix it. And I think that was marked at the beginning of my sort of this whole web technology confrontation thing. And I've seen many things like that, strange behavior like that of Greg's. And so my whole beginning there was with a sort of not a very good view of the website and Dave the Hillster's treatment of people, especially that are blaming people for being older and not wanting to learn the internet. But in any case, a few months later, there was this fight that broke out in the board between Dave and Jim. Apparently, I was not on the board at the time, and but some agreement had been reached. Some kind of agreement had been reached, was my understanding. An agreement means both parties agree, and the agreement was that there was going to be monetary compensation for transfer of the website. And so offhand, I seem to remember $4,000 or something like that. So anyways, what happened is I agreed to go in and help the NPA to transfer the website to another hosting provider, and so I did that. And as I did that, I had exchanges with Dave, and they were very cordial and they were very nice. And I realized that Dave had put a lot of effort into this website development, and that it was going to be an emotional thing. I realized that, and I tried to be attentive to those sensitivities. But I came across this funny thing. It looked like the website there's two websites, and that's when the things started getting really ugly. Apparently, right after I sort of bring these up, and then at first Dave was denying it. He was saying, no, there's no, just transfer it like that, and there's no other website. And then it changed a little bit. Then there was a little bit of a dependency. Then there was, but the whole thing was in a World Science Database. If we ported over to worldnpa.org, there wasn't any independence or transferring of the website. And then, so I have a feeling that Dave thought nobody would notice or something like that. But in any case, that's when things really blew up. And then I think it was a miscommunication. I don't think anybody wanted the World Science Database for themselves or for the NPA. It was just that for the World NPA.org to function, the WorldSci.org also had to be ported. And I think maybe a miscommunication arose there, and the whole thing blew up. And and I was very upset because when I asked questions to Dave to help me to migrate the site, he would respond nicely, but not to the questions I asked. And I interpreted that as playing games, and so I started, and I got frustrated because there I am spending hundreds of hours and then trying to migrate this site when somebody could just tell me, oh, check this or do that. And so that was a little upsetting to me that I had to spend this extra time being the victim of a power struggle when I thought that there was an agreement on both sides. And then, so finally, I think you were still president, or just before you resigned, Greg. You said, "Tell Sam to stop whatever it is he's doing," and then Greg the Hillster and Dave will do it in a few days. And that was in December, and it still hasn't been happy because I was able to wash my hands of this whole affair, but it never materialized. And then in the meanwhile, people were being told that we controlled the website. I thought that was unfair. And then I see these things about these, censorship and all that, and I found it very strange that there were like 9 or 10 pending posts by members to publish articles. They were never published. They were in pending posts. I put them now. I put them on the website. They're published. You can see Ed Dowdy's things and others over there. If you go on the members area of the website, you can see that those posts are now published. Why were they never published? Isn't that censorship? You know? And regarding the whole control of the board, so my view is that Dave believes that this Groupem technology is a multi-million-dollar technology, and that we're depriving him of that. And I think that's why there's this thing about willing to destroy the image of the NPA and go all out just for that. That's what I see as the prime motivator. You know, I really do. I'm using logic and reason. I'm not using emotion here. This is from my reasoning. And so there's that. And then the other thing I want to mention is, what is the board? The board is not preventing you guys from doing anything you want. You can have member meetings. You can do everything, you know. The only thing is the website. And for some reason, this website is a sticker, and it's a showstopper and a deal breaker. So I don't really understand that.
Okay. I know David has a pretty passionate reply to the things you said. So before you do, I want to say, yeah, you know, many of the points you raise are valid. Some of them I disagree with, and I understand. It's good for people to hear your perspective on it, and I respect you, and I appreciate that you have spent time working with the NPA. And as I've said this before, it's really too bad this whole thing happened the way it did, because I think we could be working together. And I'm, you know, so for so long, you know, we've been struggling to find volunteers, people to come in and help do this or help do that. And yes, we have had people do these posts. I never learned how to post them. So I just wasn't able to do it. In fact, some of the posts were mine that didn't get posted. But and we tried to get people to volunteer to come in and be like the editor for the posting, and that didn't happen. And then this all happened, and it just got put on the back.
The strange thing is those ones didn't get posted, but then there was one as how to be a scientist. I
don't know how that. I didn't post it.
I have an answer for all these folks. I can answer these
questions.
Let's
let David talk.
And they're valid answers.
Let's let David talk.
Okay. Let's get a couple things here. Sam, you know, no offense, but you're not telling the truth. And I know, Greg, I know it's going to be hard for you to remember, but I remember exactly the time. First of all, Sam, no offense, but you have a tendency to say we've got lots of these, or there were lots of these, or no one can log in. I remember you 3 times apologizing for you saying that the registration was down when in fact it wasn't. You came up to me in front of Greg at one time and apologized. You were following me around actually for a while because you didn't feel good because it was working. You remember that. You apologized to me 3 times. I have people around me that heard that.
I apologized to you because the tone of my voice, not because of what I said.
Well, the other thing is too is that when you make these statements, you shouldn't say there's lots of people, because I do not recall a bunch of people standing up and saying, I can't register, and the accusations you make are quite terrible, that I don't like old people, that I don't respect. I mean, this is basically just
Well, you put that in an email. You put that in an email to me.
No, I have the same agreement that one of the board members, which is the current president of the current NPA, said, and that's David, having patience with these people who are very old to get them on. I got people, I was given a mandate to get people to be registering without paying a check. Don Burdell, before any of this happened, before this board existed, he said, we're going to get everybody to do this online. And I got that system done, and I was working with it. And yes, it gets trying. And that was admitted by the president of the current NPA, that says, yes, working with old people can be very frustrating. Ask Greg when it's time, when you have those kinds of things. It is.
I hate it. I've told you this before.
The other point you brought up, which is group them, is totally wrong. The idea of group them was that when I was building the software, I'm a very good software engineer. I recognized that this could be used by other groups. Greg and I got that idea and said, now if we do this, you know what our goal was? If we made other websites that we could get a lot of money for a company, and we could funnel funds for things in the NPA. That was our goal.
Research. We wanted to be able to fund research.
I mean, how this has turned into something, no offense, I mean, that's not what it looks from on the outside, Sam, because I have only heard that opinion from you. We had a bunch of opinions here. I didn't see in the I think over 70 responses written in by hand, any of them saying that Dave is doing a power grab on anything. I'm the one who, and Greg have been the ones that have, I remember, and Greg has, knows of this. We bend over backwards doing things we didn't even agree with to get people to speak. I remember having to say to people, and these old guys sometimes, and I love them, I respect them. That's why we do this. If they're old, yes, they're old. But the thing is that we work very hard to get these people to speak. I remember one guy that if I said this certain phrase, he wouldn't speak. So I didn't use that phrase anymore. And he spoke. I won't say who it is, but the accusation of power, I think what hit me when I was on the board, and the reason I was hit so hard because my number one flaw, if you ask my wife, is to do too much for other people and not think of myself. That's what my flaw is. And then I have people, you're saying that I have this power. It's so far from me that it made me emotionally more upset in my life than I've ever been. And I don't mean mad. I mean totally depressed. And I mean, it's almost as if you help give birth to this thing and someone comes along and calls you an evil person that wants to kill everybody. It's just, so your accusation, but Sam, there's no one else in the NPA who's ever said the things that you're saying. So if you're saying that these are normal observations, I will challenge you very vehemently. And then look on the screen right here. Too hard to register for conferences. There are 2. So the only problem I said is words are not magic. Just because you, Sam, say them does not make them the truth.
I have a list.
Let's go to another. No, wait. I get a rebuttal because you said a number of things that were against character, and that's not right in any ways. But I'm going to tell you a couple other things. The other thing, and Greg can back me up. And Greg, I know you like to stay neutral, but on this side, remember when I was telling them that these 2 sites could be separated? What did I do? I spent my own money, put up a site and separated it. And how many days did that take me to do?
You did it the next day.
The next day. Sam's here saying, no, Sam, I did it. And here's the other thing. The analogy is simple, and this has been spoken. This is not hidden, and everyone knew it. And that is, when you have the World Science Database, you have to have the database somewhere. And there's 2 databases. There's a WordPress database, which has all the registration for it, and has the World Science Database. I did a favor. Even Barry Springer said in a director's meeting, it is advantageous for the NPA and the World Science Database to be hooked together. And that's what we were doing. So if if you looked up a scientist that was not in the NPA on the NPA website, and it was in the World Scientist, it would come up and it would say, not an NPA, it would not list them as an NPA member. And that is what was, so this whole idea of power or can't separate it was bad software. That's baloney. So the problem is that until you say things that you can back up with fact, just saying them, it's my opinion, and no one else is saying that, it's, to me, that's suspicious. So I don't, those are the things I wanted to make a point on it. As for the post, Greg is right. What we were doing in the post, because you don't know the history, I can illustrate this, was the problem with the post is if you open it up for anybody to publish, all they do is put their papers on it. And I said, that's not what we want. We want publishing posts that are for the layman. So I was going through everyone, and I read everyone, and I was in conversation with all of those people saying, this is just your paper, and the rule was, this is not another place to put your paper. We have that. We have 5 places for that. This is a place to write about a subject you're passionate about for the layman. And there were very few people made that. So the ones you put up there, I don't agree. They didn't fit them. So we had rules for that.
For example, Ed Dowdy, it's a great post, but it's not for the layman. It's basically a recap of his paper. Yeah, I remember that. That's why. So
that's why we did it. So you can put whatever motivation and say what you want, but those are the facts. And not only that, we were doing all those things as best we could. I published one to give it an example. So if you want to say I published one, not, but if you read it, it's a layman's article. The average person can read it. That was our intention. It wasn't because if we opened it up, every NPA science would put their paper, the latest paper there, and that's not what we wanted for the post. We wanted people to be interested in the NPA who love science. That's what we wanted.
Yeah. We even had a meeting on that. That's been over a year now, hasn't it? And we never had, I was really hoping that someone would step forward and say, I'll be the guy to start writing stuff for the general
somebody.
public.
I still have them. I still have their contact.
Still got
I know who that
is.
Just
got to get past this mess. And
the conference where I was hitting old people over with clubs on their heads, and I won't say. There's a few things I could say, but Sam, I won't say.
All right, listen. The NPA and we all have to understand. David feels very emotional about this, and we know
I do when people accuse things that are not true, Greg.
But listen, I understand.
Greg, I don't want to pick up.
Let me finish. Let me just say that the NPA has always had a lot of old people. Okay, when the first meeting I attended, which was in 2008, David and I were the junior members at that meeting. I was 47 and he was 48, and I think the next youngest member was like 64. It's just the reality. I mean, and that's and so we know that, and so developing a website for people who just don't want to use computers is a challenge in itself. We've had to take it in baby steps, and we've had to just acknowledge the fact that not everybody's going to get it, not everybody's going to use it right, and we try to be patient. I don't like doing it. I don't like it when people, but they do, and so I was really glad when we could bring somebody else in to say, I'll help people use the website, and Dave Harrison was generous enough to do that in the early days. But I think, and that still needs to, we still need to make efforts to make things more user friendly. David will agree with that. We're not saying that that's not the case, and yes, it could be easier to use, absolutely. And David's not going to argue with that either. So,
but Greg, I want to just make an interjection here. Sure. The accusation is of a power struggle, money hungry person who's in it for
that's
themselves.
Really hard
now,
to
that's where Greg, I understand you want to be neutral, but eventually
I'm not neutral on that. I don't.
Well, that's what the general. Let me put it. I'll sum up Sam. Sam is saying David Hilser has incredibly nefarious interests in making doing this, and he said on this, it's recorded, of destroying the MPA. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that doesn't make
You know,
sense.
I don't appreciate having words put in my mouth and distorted, but in any case, I appreciate you guys giving me the
I'll
time
get the
here.
sound bite and send it to you.
I just want to say
You said
No,
that.
hang on, Sam. Go ahead. No, let Sam have a chance to.
I just want to say something about the fact.
Because I don't. Did I distort anything you said?
No, but you know, just little quotes. You know, Sam said this. You know, but in any case, let's not get bogged down into that. I just want to
seriously,
say something.
if I did anything like that, I want to know. I want you.
No,
to
you did not. You did not. There was Dave. But let me just say something about the facts.
Okay.
The wonderful thing about computers is they don't have an opinion and they don't have feelings. It's all ones and zeros.
Sure.
And I have all of the evidence, if you will. You know, Dave in December moved the website, but he didn't transfer it. He transferred half of the website, and that was the problem. He wanted to remain in control of the World Science Database. He won't let go of it, and it's always been a showstopper. And I decided to bail the NPA out and not to have to be dependent on Dave's manipulations. That's where I came from, you know.
Okay.
And the computers don't lie, and I have all the evidence, and I have the emails where Dave says, you know, the problem is not his programming. The website is because he's a wonderful programmer. The problem is that most of the people in the NPA are over 7 years old. And, you know, blaming other people constantly and not taking responsibility for your own actions, I just don't know if that's, you know, I'm sorry. I just don't agree with that. And I want to say that, you know, we have everything published on our website, the governance documents, the minutes of the meeting are coming there. We had money, we had money reserved for payment to Dave. Not the full amount that he would have gotten if he would have transferred the website, but he never claimed it. And frankly,
Sam, I am curious to know the details on that. When this was decided, and was Dave informed? Because I never heard of this until you brought it up a week ago.
Well, we're going to put the meetings up on the website anyway. It's something that's never been done before. We're going to do that, and you'll be able to see everything. So far, we have a lot of stuff. Questions about the science, about, you know, preferring one science over another. Just look at the published works guidelines. There's nothing in there that says anything. All it says is you have to use logic and reason. Basically, it has to be well thought out. That's basically what it says.
And you're saying that's not enough, or I'm not sure what your point
is. I'm saying there's nothing in there that mentions, you know, anything where it's a non-political, nobody should use the NPA as a platform for either promoting or discouraging political or religious views.
Well, we all agree with that. That's
and in terms of topics of science, there's nothing in there that mentions anything about topics of science. It only mentions about, you know, for example, if you use somebody else's work, you give them credit, you know, that type of stuff.
I'm not sure where you're going with this, Sam. I mean, you're saying stuff that we all agree with. So
we came up with.
I know, but you guys are claiming that we're censoring science. I see it all over the chat.
Okay. Well,
no,
you're saying that you're going to raise the standards, and I guess I'm wondering what that meant. What does raising the standards mean? What are we doing?
Well, you'll have
that's
to ask
not below standard now. I don't know.
You'll have to ask the science committee, and the science committee currently is Cynthia, Bill Lucas, and Martin Cole.
Okay. Well, again, I'm all in favor of raising standards, but I am concerned, and I mentioned this earlier. You know, just basically based on the things that Barry had said about certain things not being good enough, and that is a fact. I'm not going to name names, but that those comments were made, and that does lead me to believe that is Barry's intent. Intent is a hard thing to judge, but that's how it looked to me.
My perception was entirely negative.
For a long time, he actually put his flag down, and Jim, I did not mean to ignore you. We wanted to finish up with Sam. I hope he's still here because I want Jim to have a chance to talk. And but Sam, now, first of all, let's finish if we can. What's going on with Sam and David? Did you have anything more you wanted to add, Sam?
Not really. I don't want to take. I want to give other people an opportunity.
And David, is there anything that what just Sam just said that you want to respond to? Hopefully, not.
No, I mean it's all recorded and people have heard it, so I have nothing
Right.
to say. He made his own bed, so.
All right, good enough. This is hard for me. I'm trying to be. I mean, I'm doing my best to try to make this work well for everybody. But I do. Jim is here, or at least he was, and he had a flag up for a long time. And Jim, I wasn't ignoring you. I just wanted to finish what we were doing. So if you want to have your say now, you are welcome.
Thanks, Greg. Regarding the letter to the hotel, it was addressed to the hotel and you and David and your committee of 5. It was not sent to the members. So I don't see how it could be interpreted as being trying to stop the convention.
Okay.
Secondly, as far as power, I want to do science. I want to do science for a long time. But the need where I can benefit the NPA is through organization and helping to get the articles of the organization up so we can get the 501c3 approval. And the same applies to Barry. I can't really speak for Barry, but I know that we want to see this organization flourish. We have a mission statement, and it's incorporated in the articles of incorporation. And that's our goal, is to make sure that that's followed. So this is my personal statement, but to the extent that the members support the mission statement, then the board and all supports the members. But it's not a member-driven organization.
Can we get the answer from Nick, though? We'd like to get the answer from
Nick asked you some questions earlier. Maybe, Nick, if you don't mind restating those for, I don't know if Jim heard them or remembers them.
Go ahead, Nick.
Nick Percival?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. I was saying that Jim's initial comment seemed to me to be quite irrelevant to the key issues here, bringing up some personal quibble with Greg about what happened in the past history. And the main issue really is, in January we had
other people can fix them. Any PHP programmer can do that, and I did that for a living for about 3 months. So I understand what you're saying, but it's simply not a good analogy or good truth about what you have in place right now. That's not true. Any WordPress site, the moment you put plugins, are going to have problems in the future, no matter how wonderful they seem.
And we found, much to our surprise, once Sam got into it, that the NPA and the World Science Database, WSD, were linked together, working together with cross calls. And you had something.
That was public knowledge. I don't know why you're saying that, but that was public knowledge. So I don't know why you're saying that was a surprise. So I understand what you're saying. I just don't like it when you say it in a way that's not true.
And you had over 30 sites on one server, 10 years old, 97% full. And you're asking us for some, I can't remember the figure, some large payment.
But it wasn't for that. It's for all the work during the year, all the help with the people registering, all the stuff that we write, the code that I write to make the proceedings only happen because Greg was traveling that summer. And you can ask Greg, I did the proceedings, and I used the system that I built. And if it wasn't for the system I built, those proceedings wouldn't have happened. And that's, so you can say what you want, but those are the realities of it. So, again, what you're saying is known. You're making issues that aren't issues, in my opinion. My server, guess what? I'm hosting people for free, including the NPA, which I did, but I couldn't justify my wife anymore working hundreds of hours on this without having some compensation, or I would have nothing to go. I couldn't do it. So I asked for extreme modest, and this is known. The programmers in the NPA know this. They're all in agreement that all the programmers I know are in agreement with that fact. So I understand, but just you can say what you want, but truth is truth, just like the NPA.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All of a sudden, my sound has gone out.
No,
can everyone hear me?
You. We can hear you, Greg. But let's make one point.
Okay. Well, we need to. Okay, go ahead.
No, but James said that he would not answer Nick's question and the petition, right? We heard that.
And it's not only my question, it's the question of the 150 you've signed before,
yes,
and the 200 members. I mean,
but he said,
okay, I will question you. How many of those people are members?
Again, we need to talk about a definition of members. We've had a pretty loose definition.
How many people paid?
As I've mentioned,
too many.
Virtually,
I would say
the active members were in the January list.
I
haven't
gone
over the other list, but I imagine it's going to be the same group plus even more.
How many people of the 150, whatever, that signed the petition had paid dues?
Probably about 70 of them, 60 to 70, and
a lot of people haven't
70,
been paying dues because of the current thing.
The problem. And the other thing is too,
they'll pay their dues.
If you took the James, it doesn't matter if you took whatever.
Jim,
but
Jim,
if you made, but if you took the subset of what you're asking, you would have the same result. The majority would still be there.
The majority was like 200 to 9 or something.
Yeah, it's
overwhelming.
For some reason, the thing.
My desktop.
Okay, listen. Just so we know, it's 11:15, and now the flags are still going. I guess this is important enough. We probably should continue.
I think we should let Duncan Shaw make us.
Well, Hans just put up a recent flag, and Anton, let's. In the interest of time, Anton, I know you had something to say earlier. Would you mind? I think we need to wrap it up somewhat soon here. Let's let Duncan Shaw go, and then Hans, you can have a short one. I'm not trying to cut anybody off. I just want to. We could go for.
We have to end this soon. Yeah.
So Duncan, would you please have your say, and then Hans, you can have a short one, and then maybe we need to cut it off after that. It's of course, I did not expect Jim and Sam to show up, and so it's been a little more passionate than I expected it to be, but understandably so. Hopefully, I mean, I don't like parading dirty laundry at all, but I want people to know the truth and understand the issues. So, okay, Duncan, if you can unmute, if you're on a phone line, you can just talk through the phone line. If you're not, I will unmute you. All right, I'm going to try unmuting you, and we'll see if that works. Okay, you are unmuted, Duncan. Can you say something? Not hearing you. Why don't you call in? Oh, the phone is not receiving my call. Huh. Well, bummer. Well, I guess if we can't hear you, you're going to have to type in something. I'm sorry. I don't know what else we can do. That's too bad. Or you can call Dave, and we can hear you through his phone line, maybe. All right. Well, Hans, go ahead. If Duncan's able to get something, that'd be great.
he's going to type his thoughts there, so I'm going to see if we can get him.
Yes, please type them in. But while you're typing, we're going to ask Hans to give his thoughts.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick comment to Dave and Jim Newbern. Yes, Dave, I do agree. I'm an electrical engineer and I do programming and I do understand the complexity, and basically I do agree with your particular comments. Also, very simple, I registered for the 2013 NPA conference on the website without any problem. So it did work.
It worked for me.
Okay, so, and then finally, Jim, you are asking who are those members who filled out the survey, and are they paid members? Yes, I am a paid member, and yes, I filled out the survey, and I am surprised and disappointed that you are not answering to the key point of this particular discussion. You are trying to go back to this letter, which is one point, but not the most important point. I believe Nick has asked a relevant question, and you are avoiding the answer. So I would like to ask the same question. What is your point? What is your plan of action, and how will you be reacting to the overwhelming result of that survey? Will you be following the wishes of the members, like I am a paid member, and can you please answer that? Thank you.
Thank you, Hans. Jim? Okay, I'm getting silence now. Jim, are you there?
I think that's his answer.
Well, I don't want to interpret. I don't want to.
I don't know. We can't interpret for sure.
I'd like to say something.
No, he may have had a technical problem. I don't.
Yeah, of course.
I don't believe that he would just leave.
He's dialing. He's saying he's dialing.
That's okay, Jim. We're going to give you a chance. So, all right, that's not a problem. Okay. And Duncan.
I have a question. Is how many of these members have actually seen the other side of the story? Because the board decided to not respond to the.
They're getting a chance to hear it from you today, Sam. So.
Right. So how good is this survey? It's a little one-sided. People get only one side of the story. They don't know what's really going on.
Barry responded in January.
Yeah, I mean, this has been known. People have had a chance to correspond. I mean, people have been able to hear from Barry. Barry has. We
didn't control the website. Dave DeHilster controlled the website and everything.
But Barry published his responses numerous times to what I have written. So, and that's public. So I don't understand. And what you're saying is not right, because Barry has responded. And you're welcome to respond to what we've done today, and you're doing that.
And how come before there was no elections, and Martin Koketz asked for elections a few years ago, and David Hilster didn't ignored him, and how
we've addressed that also, Sam. There wasn't before, because it was an ad hoc organization and where these issues just didn't come up. We've already addressed that. And
that's why we brought in Jim and Barry. That's why we brought in Jim and Barry. The problem is we didn't expect Jim and Barry to go in a direction that just it was crazy. That's all. I mean, we don't know. We didn't know that.
The board intends to have elections. That's already been signaled. So
okay, elections.
Wait until the election and see if after a few months and see what the members really want.
Can I ask?
No elections, but who's electing? That's the question, Sam. Who elects the member? Who elects?
Barry's term comes up the end of this year.
No, but I'm saying that I think Sam's talking about the directors' elections. They're not member elections.
Will they be member elections or director elections?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's gonna be either, it's gonna probably be, there's a move towards member elections, not because what you guys are making a lot of noise, but just because it seems like a good idea, and that's already been published and it's on our website. So you can just wait
So
until,
when exactly will those member elections be, and who will be
well,
elected?
that has to
Which
be,
seats?
now we're getting into the details and we haven't gotten there yet. And so, but that's the phase we're in.
The details are what matter, because ultimately we
Yes,
can
but
live
we
with
don't
a
make,
board which has at least 4 members of the 7 which represent
Yeah.
the majority view. We
but
can live with that.
But the important thing is that it's agreed by the board that there's going to be some form of election. That's the first step. And then the next step is to figure out how, in what form, and the transition and so on. So if you want to wait a little bit, then you can go up for elections.
And we have waited 7 months, and the last communication from Barry was arguing against member elections.
Well, it wasn't arguing, it was responding to the fake false allegations that we're operating illegally.
The board has had all the time it needs to decide how to do a member election.
Why should we respond to cyberbullying? Dave DeHilt is a bully. Why should we respond to him? Do you expect us to back down from bullying?
We have had 200 members request that
Yes, but
that's virtually the entire NPA membership.
Sam, it wasn't me. Greg sent it out. Why do you? The reason you
let me tell you why.
Greg Volk sent it out, not me. You're putting it on.
I'm a bully.
You're a bully, Greg. You're a bully. You're terrible.
When I saw the information that was being sent out prior to this, and running up and running people's emotions high, I was shocked. I was totally shocked. I didn't know how to respond. This is unbelievable. And so
You know how we feel.
And walking into a lynch mob of people that are ill-informed, I don't think that's very wise. Let things cool down, and I think the members are speaking now. Our conference is filling up. We've got a lot of papers. You guys didn't get any. So, I believe actions speak louder than words. We have a website that functions. We now have transparency. We now publish everything about what's going on. There's no hidden agenda here. We don't use rhetoric and emotional and appeal to people's emotions.
Right, you don't appeal to our emotions.
We don't play that game, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I'm going to just say, I'll say that a couple of things are true, and I don't know if I said this at the beginning, but I do want to say it at some point during this meeting. What you're saying is at least partially correct, that people are responding emotionally to what has been come out. I did my best, especially in the January letter and in this letter, to just tell the truth. That was my intent. And some people have read between the lines things that are not there. Some people have said, "Oh, well, this is a power thing, and this is some sort of government thing trying to shut down the NPA, and Barry's a front for that and all that." I've received several emails of that sort, and I'm telling you now that that's not the case. It's not that. It's just a person, just Barry and Jim, and they have some, I think, misguided ideas. So yes, you're right. Some people have responded emotionally. I did not intend to do anything more than just to tell them the facts. And now you're saying it's one-sided, but you have your opportunity to present your case to whoever wants to hear it. And if people are swayed otherwise, then they can they're welcome to it. As far as papers, you said, I don't know how many papers you've received, but I know how many I have, and there's quite a few. We have enough for a conference for next year. We'll have a very nice proceedings for next year, and people still send them to me. I still get them. So maybe they sent the same ones to you. I don't know. And I'm calling on members not to honor a conference that's put on by the current board, to boycott that, and that if we're able to get back in control of the organization by the end of before the end of the year, then we'll have a conference as the NPA. If not, we'll have a conference under the guise of some other name. But we will have a conference, and I don't believe we will be able to do it until 2015 under the certain circumstances, unless things change with how the board behaves. That's my position.
And how is the current board in any way stopping you from doing anything that you want to do as in science?
It's not. It just takes time. We need to have some time to get organized, to get a website, and unfortunately it's going to be reinventing the wheel and so on, and then we're not going to be able to do that until next year. It takes time.
It was clear that, you know, we even encouraged your conference. We just didn't want, we didn't accept. We
Sam,
didn't accept.
No, you did not encourage our conference.
No, it's in there. Hold on. Barry sent it to all. The only thing he did not want in the conference was that you publish something pretending to be the NPA, like the proceedings, or something like that. But you're
okay, Sam, is there anything new that you need to add? Because we do need to wrap it up.
I just want to say that you guys can do anything you want. Nobody's stopping you from doing stuff. It's just this control thing. I don't know why you guys are obsessed with it. What is it going to change?
You know,
Well, I can give.
It's all about the website. It's all about
a very little part of it.
I will just say one thing.
Why are you there?
We're just saying. One of the things that I would say is very simple. John Chappelle, who I knew probably all the founding members. I was at the third conference. I'm trying to preserve what they have built. That's what I'm doing, and it's a wonderfully beautiful thing. And I know if John Chappelle was alive today, what's going on? He was a fighter, much more than Greg and I. And so that's what I see. I'm not even a person that's really religious, but I feel like he's up there somewhere saying, fight for this NPA. Make sure we don't lose it, because it's worth it. That's what I see. And right now, I think the majority, the membership, active membership, are saying the same thing. That's it.
Okay. Duncan Shaw could not get his audio working, but he asked me to read his comments, so I'm going to do that now. He said, we are failing to see the elephant in the room. The elephant is that the membership has rejected Springer and Newburn now and last January. The NPA is in danger of falling apart while they cling to their post. We can debate details, but we cannot progress while Springer and Newburn cling to power. The solution is simple. The resignations the members call for put Volk and one compatible. I'm sorry, it keeps moving on me. With Volk, and leave it to the board to sort out the conflicts, including how future directors should be elected. Did I skip anything? No. Okay. And I'm not sure if I got it all, Duncan. I'm sorry, but I think I did. Anyway, that's Duncan Shaw's position. I don't know. Is there anything more that Sam or Jim want to say at this point? Let's try to wrap things up.
I think we should wrap it up no matter what. We're just going to, like everyone knows, we're rehashing everybody's
pretty much are. I hope everybody is clear on the issues. There's nothing really changed since January. Our position is clear. Our plan of action is clear. We want if you know, if the current board is not willing to, if basically Springer and Newbern are not willing to step down and they're not willing to make changes to accommodate, to basically bring the current board into compliance with the overwhelming majority of the members in the NPA, then we will either have to form a new organization, and either way, we're going to have a conference in 2015. It's going to take us that long to prepare. It's maybe not too late.
Greg, you said that you would rather see the NPA die and have control of WSC come